today we're going to talk about just how this fullness of God is in Jesus. The world's going to tell us that we need something extra, and it's something only they can give us. You've even seen this in the church throughout the ages, where people will come in and say, yeah, okay, those other churches are cool and all, but we've got this, and I have this thing, and no one else has gotten it but me. It's not in the Bible, but it's in me. Run from that, right? Don't listen to that. In fact, he said it yesterday. He talked about in verse 8 about not being taken captive by philosophies. He calls them empty. He says they're just, it's all about human tradition or some sort of worldly spiritual thing. He goes, it's got to be according to Christ. Why? In verse 9 he says, in him, in Jesus, the whole fullness of deity dwells bodily. And you've been filled in him who is the head of all rule and authority. In him also you were circumcised with a circumcision made without hands, by putting off the body of the flesh by the circumcision of Christ, having been buried with him in baptism, in which you were also raised with him through faith in the powerful working of God, who raised him from the dead. Man, that language is just so big. Notice the word fullness and the word all. He's saying, look, in Jesus, it's all there, all that you need. He's 100% God, lacking in no aspect of God. You got it right there. And in fact, you're filled in him, right? You don't need some spiritual upgrade. God's got you. In fact, Jesus is the head of all rule and authority. And you were circumcised. Now, circumcision back in the Old Testament, literally, like physically, you were marked as a child of God. You physically were no longer the same, but the real reality was what God was doing spiritually. You are now part of the covenant people, part of the people of God, and again, that physical mark, a painful one, right? Involved blood, involved right cutting of the flesh, and all of that. But he says there's a circumcision going on in baptism that Jesus did, right? It wasn't a rabbi, it wasn't a doctor. God did that for you, right? He took that body of flesh, that thing that wars against God, and he cut it away. He cut it away. He put it off, right? He chopped it, got rid of it by that circumcision. He marked you, right? Again, he says you were buried with him in baptism. He says this in Romans 6 as well, linking and saying, look, this is a ritual that marks that you are no longer the same. Baptism says you are now part of the body of Christ. You are now his. He has now adopted you. Right? And you move forward a different person, a new person as you come up out of that water. Why? Because you trust in him. You have faith in this powerful working of God. So baptism no longer is left being just some sort of empty ritual at all. Not at all. It's this powerful thing that says you are now a child of God. You've been buried with him, connected to him, marked by him. Like, this is who you are now. See, because we're just riddled with doubts. We're riddled with fear. We have all these issues. And Paul, he's talking this way so that we can say, I want you to know for certain. I don't want you, fingers crossed, I hope I make it. He's like, Jesus already did it all. He already died. He already rose. He gave it right so that now you can live this life of faith, this life where you trust him, this life where everything you do comes from your identity as a believer, as someone who's been bought with the blood of Christ, who's been baptized into Christ, who's been marked with this faith that God has given to you, and he's working powerfully in your life. And you just trust that he's going to do that every day. And that's what's going to mark your life. That's what you're going to be about every day. right? And so I pray that that helps you, encourages you, and strengthens you for whatever's coming at you tomorrow or the next day, all right? So you have a great rest of your day. Be blessed by the Lord and His Word. Share this and get the word out. Also, hit that subscribe button if you haven't. And we'll talk to you next time as we finish out this section of readings in Colossians.